Welcome back to the Thrive After Sports podcast. I'm here with a very special guest today. You guys don't understand. This is not just a client of mine. This is not just someone who I'm proud to be mentoring. This is like the homie at this point. We spent enough time on calls. Like, you don't understand. We have a similar heart and wanting to serve athletes. And I'm excited to get into this conversation today to tell you what Jhalisa Bell is up to. I'm here with Jhalisa Bell, folks. Say what's up, Jhalisa.
What's up, you guys? I am so excited to be on this podcast. Nobody would have suspected this, but here we are. And this is going to be one of the best episodes. I already feel it.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. This is a beautiful thing. Jhalisa is someone who, she has an extremely bright future ahead of her, to say the least. And I'm excited to run with her. That's why I said she's the homie now. Like, we can run as teammates to serve the athlete community. So I'm excited for what the future holds and the way she's going to grow and how our friendship and our relationship is going to blossom as well. Let's get into before we dive into the story. I know we got a lot to unpack, Jhalisa, but I do want to remind everyone, if you are an athlete in need, if you need help through your transition, if you are the friend, the family member, the teammate, the coach, the parent of an athlete, I want to encourage you to reach out to Athlete Soul. You can visit athletesoul.org, check out all the free resources for former athletes in transition. There's courses, there's coaching. You'll have access to coaches like myself. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'm not hard to find. If you're listening to this podcast, you know where to find me. Look up Taj Deshawn or visit tajdeshawn.com. But Jhalisa, let's get into it. So I know you were a track and field athlete, shot put, and then discus, right? Did I get that correct?
Yes.
All right, so don't get on Jhalisa's bad side, y'all. You will get tossed, all right? You will get tossed across the room, so show some respect.
Don't play.
That's right. But can you just to kick it off, can you just talk a little bit about, as your college career started to wind down and you found yourself no longer being an athlete, what sort of things did you experience during that time?
Absolutely, yes. So for starters, I'm currently 23 and currently in grad school. And during my undergrad time, I was down in North Carolina. Mind you, I'm from San Diego, California, so I am far from home, which for me, I was like, cool, dive headfirst straight into something new. That's what I typically do. It's a little bit chaotic, but it works. And so I go through my first 2 years of undergrad, no big deal. I'm adjusting, figuring things out. Junior year, everything happens, like everything, from me getting an injury that a doctor finally sat down and was like, your season's over. And I looked and I was like, the season hasn't started. So it was very hard hitting for me, because I was like, junior year, I was ready to, do something big. I had spent the entire summer training as hard as I could just to come back and get told you're done before I start. So I go in, they tell me time to schedule your appointment for your surgery. I had a labrum surgery done on my right shoulder, my dominant arm, my throwing arm. And I thought everything was over. And then 2 days before my surgery, we got sent home because of COVID. And so I was like, oh, not only is my season over, everyone's season's over. I don't even get to support my teammates at track meets. Like, it's done, like it's over. And in my head, I didn't know what the recovery process was going to look like for me. So from the moment out of surgery, I was like, all right, what else am I going to do? What am I doing now that essentially I'm done being an athlete? And I was kind of scared because nothing prepared me for this. I mentally kind of did, because like as a kid, I was like, if I get to be an athlete in college, cool. If not, also cool. So I started thinking about, how did I want to impact anybody else? Because first and foremost, I see myself more as like a serving kind of leader. I don't want to just, I put myself at the top, that's where I am. I wanted it to be pulling other people up with me, because if we're all reaching one common goal, that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes everything easier to handle. And it was just huge for me. So I took that time and I had the opportunity of staying with some teammates, being around my athletic trainers who were all super helpful in this process, because my recovery was 6 months. And what sucked is it goes to the summer of quarantine summer. And then we kick off the school year. I go back into like physical therapy, and they said, hey, we thought you'd be a lot further along by now. It's nothing you've done. You've done everything right. Which for me as an athlete, I'm like, yes, I get to go back to my sport. I was so excited to start training again. However, for some reason, my shoulder didn't heal the way it was supposed to. So they basically told me, you can go as is, which may lead to your season getting cut again, or you can go back into surgery. We get the built up scar tissue out and you go from there. And I looked and I paused. I was like, go back into surgery. I just did the whole process. I was so confused. I remember breaking down. I was in tears in my athletic trainer's office. And luckily, my senior year, I had an athletic trainer. She was new, but she had been through the exact same thing. Like, coincidence of somebody going through the same thing was crazy to me. And she was like, look, at the end of the day, it's up to you. What do you want to do? And I decided to go back in because I figured if I was going to have a shot at a good season, I need to have my body right. So I go back in, didn't know that it was going to be another 6 months of recovery time. I thought it was going to be shorter for some reason. I don't know why, but that's how my mind works. And so I go back in, get surgery. Luckily, I was able to start rehab like the next day because they wanted to make sure it didn't happen again, which was really cool because I was like, awesome, like training starts. I didn't know it was going to be super slow. Like I couldn't pick things up for 6 weeks. And I was like, this sucks. But it all worked out in the end. Season comes around end of February of 2021. I go to my first track meet in 2 years, and my coaches, my trainers, everybody was like, hey, don't worry about your performance. We just want to make sure you've got the motion back. I go out there and I throw a personal best.
Wow.
It's pouring rain outside, colder than ever. My teammates were not doing well. And I threw a personal best and everybody was just like, this doesn't make sense. And I was like, it doesn't need to. I wasn't upset at all. I was like, hey, I got my season back. That's all I cared about. And I think the most important part of caring about that I had my season back was somewhere along that year journey of recovery, I figured out I wanted to help athletes in the ways that I didn't have help, because here I am navigating college on the other side of the country, have no clue what I want to do. I just know there's a good chance I can stay in sport because it's something I've always done. And I was like, I will find a way to serve athletes. I then go on to graduate. I had no idea what I was going to do. I went home for a couple months, then decided to go do grad school, which is where I am now, and still had no idea. And this next part is the funniest part about the story, because in grad school, they give you a lot of opportunities, networking, conferences, the whole nine. And there was a conference coming up, and all my friends are like, oh, are you going to go? Are you going to go? And I was like, no. I was still very unsure in the sports space. So I was like, no. I end up going. I sit through the different panels, and they were incredible panels. I still have the notes. I still take those to heart every day. And so one thing I will mention, if you're listening and you have the opportunity to go to different conferences and network, do it. Because only good things can happen if you like put yourself out there and go do it. And that's how I met Taj, which is the funniest story, because he was on like the second or third to last panel of the last day. And everything about him, like everything he was saying, I was like, I connect with this. This is the life I'm currently living. And so I told myself, when I get back, I'm going to reach out to him. And I like built up confidence, because I was like, the worst that can happen is I either get a no or no response. So I was like, go for it. I hit him up on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I watched your panel at the Sync conference. Like, I would really like to, pick your brain apart, trying to figure out how you got here. And little did I know this man was going to message me back. And I got so excited. I was like, yes. We start talking. We have the best conversation. And he goes, well, do you want to just go ahead and do this program? And part of me was like, no. I was like, no, I don't want to do this program. I was like, this seems intense. It seems like we got to really dive deep, even though these are things I'm now doing. I decided to go forth with this program, and it's one of the best things that's happened to me. Like, family members, friends have told me like my energy has shifted back to the way it used to be when I was excited about everything. And so that is my favorite thing about the journey so far. It's great.
That's so funny. I'm imagining you like building up the confidence to send a LinkedIn message. I'm like, that doesn't even sound like you. You're so, you know what I mean? Like your personality, like, but I love that though. I love that you, like I told you when you reached out, I'm glad that you did. And I could tell right away that you had a heart for serving, like you said, and you made that decision in the middle of that 2-year journey or 2-season journey when you weren't able to compete. You made the decision you wanted to serve. And that was very evident before we even spoke on the phone, just the way you reached out in your message. I was like, I know someone who has a good heart and has the desire to really impact people when I see it. And so when we had the conversation, it was kind of a no-brainer. And I know, like you said at first, like, I don't want to do this sounds like a boot camp. And in some ways, it kind of is a boot camp working with me, but all for the greater good. And, I wanted to ask you, like, when you think about reaching out now, do you still have that same kind of like apprehension to reach out to people, or are you more confident because you're getting responses and people are willing to talk to you?
I'm definitely more confident about it. There's still some times where I'm just like, I get too wrapped. I think that's what it is. I get too wrapped up in like somebody's title. And so like if somebody looks at your title, well, when I look at your title, I see CEO, founder, and I'm like, this guy's at the top. He's up here. I'm figuring things out. And now I have the opportunity that I look at people's titles and I'm like, hey, they started somewhere similar to me. They're probably waiting for the opportunity to also pour into other people, which is the best thing also about being in the sport world, the sport industry, is it's give and take. You're always pouring into other people, which is huge because you need other people to support you. For the longest time, I'm very much guilty of this. I thought I could do everything by myself. And so I just wouldn't ask for help. And I was like, oh, I got it. It's no problem. And I quickly found out that that is the hardest way to go through life, by yourself. And once I started working with you, I started accepting help a lot easier. I started allowing others to kind of like build me up as I build them up. And it created this team of like, hey, we all want to be successful. Why not help each other get there? Which was really cool. So yeah, reaching out is definitely a lot easier now. There's no longer like typing 1,000 messages and like deleting them. And I'm like, all right, it's gotta be perfect. I'm like, we're still human. They're gonna be like, it's okay.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you talked about how so many people, it's almost surprising in a sense, how many people, especially in this community of athletes, right? So many former athletes, not just, and this is bigger than just athletes, but so many people who are basically where you want to be in life in some way, shape, or form. It's crazy to think that they're willing to help if you just ask. And like the same way you feel, if someone reached out to you like, hey, Jhalisa, I just graduated from college. I just finished playing my sport. Like, I need help. You would be thrilled to talk to that person. Like, I was probably even more excited to talk to you than you were to talk to me at the very, very beginning, because it's like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to help. Like, I love doing it just as much as you do. And so, and then what you said about not trying to do everything yourself, I think that's so important for people to hear, especially coming from, an athlete. Like, we're so used to, athletes are prideful. Let's just be flat out about that. Like, we don't want to show weakness or ask for help. I still deal with that to this day. I'm coaching people and helping people with that, but I still deal with it personally. So I appreciate you going there. What do you think? What would you say, like, from the time we started working together? Because your transformation has been amazing. We'll get to that in just a second. But like, and not just because of me, I want to be clear about that. It's not just like, oh, I'm some amazing person that caused others transformation. No, it's like you did the work to put yourself in a better position to transform your inner world. But what would you say at the very beginning was like the biggest thing that you had to overcome, or the biggest thing that you realized you wanted to work on for yourself?
I think they kind of go hand in hand for me. Was understanding like everything I wanted to do, didn't want to do, whatever I wanted to do in life was truly in my hands. Like, I had the power to change anything. I'm guilty of allowing like external factors to kind of influence me. And so if something bad happens prior to us like going through this, the program, I was like, well, I deserved it. Like I was very much like, that's karma coming back around. Like that was supposed to happen because of the person I am. Not it happened, let's learn from it and let's push. It was like I accepted it because I will be the first to admit, again, it's pride, it's not wanting to ask for help. So when bad things happen, I had a habit of just accepting it and like sitting in it, which would often put me in a worse like kind of rut. So for all the listeners who happen to be athletes, maybe you're not an athlete, maybe you're a retired athlete like me, mental health is serious because when your mind gets to that dark place and you don't have any other way to like pull yourself out of it, it gets scary because then you're just like, you're accepting everything. You're allowing all these external factors to pretty much taint your mind, taint your heart, and you kind of close off. And so for me, the biggest thing to kind of overcome was allowing myself to fully understand that I was in control. Even if something happens to me, who cares? I can still change what's going on, which I think we talked about this at some point during the program about customizing your lifestyle. That is one of the like most common things I talk to people about now. I'm like, anytime somebody's like, oh, you know, this isn't going the way I want it to. And I was like, figure out what you want to do next and change it up, you know, like adjust your lifestyle to what you want to do. And eventually you'll find things like either coming to you or falling directly where you want them. And it was really, I think that was like, I'm still kind of struggling with that a little bit because I'm still human, but like allowing myself to really acknowledge my own power and ability was something I definitely learned from this program. And it's one of the things that caused me to do like a 180, like just waking up in the morning, just excited to do anything. And it's so cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that, and that was one of the things for me that was cool to watch you, like watch it sink in, the fact that you do have more control. Like I feel like all of us, me included, can use more of that understanding or just keeping it at the forefront of your mind that all of us do have so much more control over our lives than we give ourselves credit for, like you said. Or, you know, the people who are unhappy with certain things of their lives, well, you can complain about it or you can take responsibility for it and do something to change it. And that's exactly what you did. That's exactly what you've been doing, exactly what you'll continue to do. I want to make a pivot to talking about you serving athletes and what your vision for that is. Because I know even going into us working together, you had a very strong vision for what you wanted to do and how you wanted to go about it. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how are you looking to serve the world, serve these athletes?
Okay, so this was when I tell you guys meeting Taj was like, it was divine intervention. It's like, all right, you guys got to be homies now, get it done. Because when I met with him, he was like, all right, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to serve athletes. And he was like, how? And I was like, I don't know. I literally remember our first meeting, you were asking me questions. I was like, I have no idea. But it was super cool because the best thing I think, and this isn't to like you try to be, oh, you know, plug, but this program, when I tell you guys, it works because it's not Taj sitting there telling you guys what to do. He's not like, all right, if you want to do this, this, and this. It's how do you think you can best serve with what skills you have, your energy, all of that. And so our first meeting was his who, what, and how. And I remember distinctly mentioning, I was like, I want to help athletes create their lifestyle the way they want. I'm tired of seeing too many athletes get pushed through the system so they can focus on practice and show up to meetings when they're stuck in a major that they hate because they don't want to do it. And their coach is like, well, this is the easiest thing for you because you now can be at practice, or like you have this class specifically goes online so you can sit and also watch film. And it's like, no, the kids are in school to get an education doing what they want. That's why they're here. And Yes, sports is incredible. I will be the first one to say that. I was able to go to college partly due to being an athlete, and it helped me pay for college. And so I'm not going to sit here and act like athletic scholarships and being a collegiate athlete is something to like push aside, because it's an incredible, incredible thing to have accomplished. Not many people get to that level in their sport. So it's huge, but I finally was like, they get to create their own legacy, and when they do that, I get to create mine. And my biggest thing, I kept telling Taj over the program, I was like, my one thing I want out of this is the message to get passed along. Even if somebody hears it and it's not from me. Say somebody listens to something I say and they go and pass it on, and that person, and it starts to spread, and it creates this culture of, hey, we don't have to be alone. We can help each other. We can do this, we can do that. And it was super cool because maybe it doesn't have to come from me, but somewhere it did. And as long as the message gets out, that's all I care about, which brings me to the how. I I mentioned to Taj that I wanted to start a podcast. Immediately cuts me off and he goes, all right, cool. What day when are you gonna record your first episode?
I was like, don't threaten me with a good time. Don't tell me.
I was like, what have I gotten myself into? What have I done? And so from that point on, me and him also started working on what would be my podcast, which launched yesterday.
Let's go. I need some air horns. Like I should get some. We need some air. I need some confetti or something. Like, congrats, man. And it was so perfect. Just real quick, not to interrupt you, but I know our schedules. Let me just be straight up. My schedule. We've been trying to get this episode recorded for like probably a few weeks, if not a month. And I had some things pop up in my schedule. But I love the fact this is, once again, like you said earlier, divine timing. I love the fact that we're recording this the day after your podcast officially launched. Like there couldn't be a better time for us to be recording. So anyway, back to you, the podcast. Let's hear more about that.
So so the second I wanted to start a podcast came out of my mouth, this man was full speed ahead, full throttle, let's go. And he was like, well, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, everything from my experience to, what the transition looks like, to reaching out for help, like everything in between, every struggle, every mental health breakdown, everything in the book. I was like, I want to talk about it all because I know I'm not the only one. And that was my biggest thing, because here I am, I spent my entire life, going through mental health issues, going through different things that have happened to me, thinking, oh, I'm the only one that's, suffering with this, and nobody else seems to be saying anything, so they don't have this issue. And finally I sat there and I was like, there's no way on this entire earth that I'm the only one, with these thoughts and, these struggles that I'm going through. And I was like, the best way to create community is to open up first. And through my podcast, I plan on getting very deep, getting very vulnerable, because people tend to be more comfortable sharing their own stories once somebody else has shared theirs, because it's like we can come together in said struggle and in these different things. And what I think is helpful is that I am in the process of healing to this day. There's probably not going to be a time where I'm like, oh, I'm perfectly fine, everything's cool. There's always going to be something, but that's not to be looked at negatively. I look at a lot of these things as opportunities to pour into other people, because chances are whatever I've gone through in like my undergrad years, somebody else is going through, and I can connect with them on that. I can help them through that because I've been there, I've done that. And it's a really good feeling once you help somebody. I remember I had a really good teammate in undergrad, and when I tell you what he was going through was 10 times worse than my shoulder injury, and he still found a way to not only brighten my day and like get me like remotivated, he did that with everybody on the team, because there was something beautiful about watching his growth and continuing to grow yourself, and you just get to like see everybody get lifted up. And I remember when he came back and did like his first time trial, the entire team was out there. Mind you, this is just practice. Like, we're just all at practice. We all showed up and we're like, we're rooting this kid on because he's done nothing but pour into others. And part of that is what inspired me to like want to help other people. Cause I was like, here's this kid that is going through it. Like, there's a lot going on here. And his main priority was his sport and helping other people. What he was going through, he was like, hey, I'll deal with that when it happens. But right now, I know I can pour into others. I can support my teammates. I can grow with my teammates. And that's what he focused on. And I was like, that's an incredible way to go about life, especially through an injury, an illness, whatever the case may be for the individual. But it was huge because I was like, I can help people like that. I've gone through stuff. And so that was the inspiration for it. It was an incredible teammate that really pushed me to figure out I want to help other people.
Mm. And then quick plug, we'll talk about it at the end, but as far as the podcast, what's the podcast called? Where can people go check it out? We'll have the links in the show notes, but just what's it called? Talk about it.
So the podcast is called Chime In with Jhalisa. And you'll know it by its cover art because it is a little bell in like a microphone stand. It's got a little lightning around it. It's so cool. And at the bottom, it says, let it ring. The reason this got picked is because too often people in general, but especially athletes, are shut down about talking about things that bother them, their mental health, struggle with, either their sport, their transition out of sport, everything they do, they're often shut down because they're like, well, you got to do all this stuff in college. Your life can't possibly be that bad. Your life has to be perfect. You get to travel, you get to do all this stuff, you get to do what you love. And it's like, yeah, but that comes at a cost. And I want everybody, starting with me, to just air it out, let it ring, let everyone know what's going on. Because when people are aware, you can then find a way to help. And that's my biggest thing. That's chime in with me because you're going through it, I'm going through it. Let's go through it together and figure this out. And it's super cool. Like he mentioned, I'm at launched yesterday. There will be a new episode every week, probably on Tuesdays. I like Tuesdays. But you'll definitely have one every week. It can be found on Spotify. Anchor will also have it, seeing as that's where I record. And yeah, like you said, we'll definitely have links in the description. But yeah, if you also want to stay tuned on like when I'm uploading and everything, you can follow me on Instagram at Jhalisa Bell. That's JHALISAAABELL. So that's where y'all can find me. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great journey, you guys. We get to be awesome.
That's right. You know what, Jhalisa? I think this would be. Oh, and by the way, quick play on words. Jhalisa Bell, let it ring. That's where the bell comes from. Y'all got to keep up. Y'all got to keep up here. All right?
Y'all got to stay up. Come
on. But yeah, I'm super proud of you and inspired by the fact that you actually followed through with it. Because like just because I was on you about like, hey, when are you going to do it doesn't mean you had to do it. You know what I mean? But you went through because it was important to you. And, ultimately, it's not even really about you. It's about who you're going to be able to reach and impact with the podcast, just like you said. So congratulations on the launch. I listened to your first 2 episodes this morning, blown away as usual. I wasn't surprised at all that they were fire, And I know it's only going to grow from there. Like your first 2 episodes are way better than my first 2 episodes a few years ago. I can tell you that. I mean, I was putting myself to sleep listening to those episodes like, man, Taj, but I did it. That's all that matters, Before we get back to your journey and everything that the future holds for you, because I definitely want to talk about that, because I know you're up to a lot more than the podcast. That's really just the beginning, right? But I think this would be a good time for you to give some advice to athletes who are in transition. So, basically the younger version of yourself, someone who's tuning in right now, maybe they just graduated, maybe they're, in a job and they're not enjoying it. They're trying to figure out their next steps. What advice can you give to athletes who are trying to figure out their next steps?
I think the very first thing I want to say to, athletes out there in this process is give yourself grace. you know? It's so easy, and as athletes, we're so prone to this. Everything that happens, we just come down so hard on ourselves. We are our worst critic. We are just so tough, and I know because I was one of them. Every bad practice, every bad meet, boy, I was cussing myself out on the way home. I was like, "You're so much better than this. You did this because what? You just didn't feel like doing it." Like I would tear myself down, and I realized so fast, like that made everything worse. I was like, now I really can't practice because I think I'm gonna do terrible. So give yourself grace. There's so much space to grow and learn new things. So if you mess up, take it in stride. Figure out what you can learn from that, because I can tell you guys now, there are still times I have to give myself grace. Mind you, we're all really young. Like, we look at a lot of this stuff and we're like, oh, we have to be perfect. We can't make mistakes because we're a collegiate athlete. Yeah, collegiate athletes range anywhere from 18 to like 24-ish, given the COVID year and everything like that, and injuries and stuff. So you're still young. Like, you're not anywhere even started in your life. So if you're coming out of college and you're in a job you don't like, give yourself grace for that moment. Experience it. I'm not saying like bury it, bottle it, don't react. You are human. You have the liberty to do that. But allow yourself to realize this isn't it. This isn't your stopping point. This isn't where you are for the rest of your life. You have the opportunity to change that. You just got to figure out what's next. What do you like doing? What is something that gets you up in the morning, gets your blood flowing and everything like that. The other thing that I will mention is try to add like one specific thing. Like, the time interval is really up to you. I try to do this like once a month, like add a new aspect in there of what's next. So a lot of this started during my work with Taj, but I started recording weekly like good morning and like good night messages for myself, because it's like being a human is hard. There are so many expectations and mean people in the world that you're going to join that side and be mean to yourself. That blew my mind, at the fact that I was like constantly, I was the one hurting myself. And so add something new to like just boost yourself. Maybe you take yourself out every other week. Maybe you buy something that you've had your eyes on. Maybe you record morning and night messages. Because trust me, when I tell y'all those help, when I would wake up and that's the first thing I'm like pushing on my phone, and I told Taj this every time I recorded them. It's me being my natural self, a goofball. And so I would like shout. I would shout into the phone, "Good morning, sunshine." And it's the most aggressive thing in the morning. And the first couple times I played it, I was like, why would I do this? I was so mad, because I was like, now I have to get up because I'm up. Because I would forget that like I screamed into the phone. And so now this loud voice of myself is playing, and it's like, you're gonna go have a great day. It's gonna be beautiful. Even if it's raining, you get to go do all this stuff. And that's the best part. You get to do all these things. You don't have to do anything. You get the opportunity to build your life how you want it. And then of course my good night messages were always like, you did great today. I'm so proud of you. Like, just people really don't think words influence us much, but they do, especially when they come from your worst critic, which is yourself. So hearing my voice tell me that I'm proud of you, you did a good job, you're going so far in life, you have a bright future, all of those things really, they build a sense of security in yourself. And I know a lot of people are like, that sounds wild. Like, what do you mean sense of security in yourself? Like, it's yourself. But that's the thing. A lot of the time, especially with me, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I didn't feel like, I had purpose somewhere, until I started treating myself in a way that was like, not only do you have purpose here, but you're doing an incredible job. Like, you are doing things that people before you haven't. For those who don't know, I'm a first generation college student, first generation college grad, and now I'm on my way to get my master's. And that's not something that was done in my family. And it's incredible, because when you do things that are unexpected, and then like it happens, like, and it's like really good, you're like, oh, I feel good. And I finally also got to the point where I can celebrate myself. I told Taj this in earlier meetings that I had a really hard time celebrating different things that I've done because it was supposed to happen. I was supposed to go to college. I was supposed to graduate. I was supposed to be all these things. And then it finally got to the point where I was like, I don't have to do any of this stuff if I don't want to do it. So if I am going to put myself in the position where I want to do it and I get it done, celebrate it because it was hard. A lot of people will look at you and be like, oh, you go to this college, you go to that college, it must be easy. Oh, that's your major, you have an easy major. College is hard work. I don't care what anyone says. College is hard because you're dealing with academics, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with anything and everything that can happen. And you have the nerve to be mean to yourself for doing a good job because you could have done better. No, you did what you could because that's what you're good at. And that's my spiel of advice is that, you got to give yourself grace. You got to celebrate yourself. You're doing incredible things, just be happy. Work towards that happiness, work towards that freedom.
That was some strong advice right there, Jhalisa. So many gems, just a few things that stood out to me that I want to pinpoint. Well, let me say this. I love that you shared how you've been recording yourself talking to yourself and the impact that that's had. Like when someone showed me how to do that, that was a game changer for me. Because like you said, your words really do create your world. It's called spelling for a reason. You're casting spells by speaking. And the people who are, oh, my world, oh, this sucks and this and that. And, the government versus being like, all right, it's a beautiful day. Or, you screaming at yourself in the morning, telling yourself to have a great day. Like all that stuff really does have an impact, especially when it's in your own voice. They say like all geniuses talk to themselves. So I try to be intentionally like talking to myself, like in my own head or even out loud if I have to, as much as possible, And then the piece about grace too, like giving yourself grace. I think like for me, when I graduated college and people have heard me tell this story over and over again, I was expecting to be like the CEO somewhere, just like be making six figures. Like just because I was at the top of this field in one area in football, I'm expecting to be the top in like the business world, but you're starting out as a freshman in life. And what you said about like giving yourself grace is so key. Let's talk about this because this would be a good place for us to jump to next. So you're in grad school right now at Temple. And what are you getting your master's in again? Can you remind me?
I'm getting a master's in sport business with a concentration in athletic administration.
Boom. Okay. Very strong degree right there. And then you have a podcast that you just started. And then did you start your internship yet?
No, not yet. I should be starting in August at some point.
Okay. And that's at Villanova or is that somewhere else?
It'll be somewhere else. I'm still getting like the rest of the details and like finalizing stuff because it is part of like curriculum. So getting all that handled.
Got you. So you got a lot of good things going on. What's next? Like, what do you see? I don't want to put a time limit on it, but like, what does the future hold for you as far as the way you want to continue to serve? How do you see that unfolding?
So first and foremost, for those who are like, oh, I go to college and they're just draining everything out of me, drain them right back. Okay. Take every opportunity you can from these people.
Talk to them. Go ahead.
Look, go ahead. I don't care what colleges are there to serve you. They are there to provide you with something. So next time your teacher says you're late, you tell them, I pay you. Don't say that to them.
Wow. Well, you can say that because you did shot put and discus throwing. So like you can say that to a teacher, but we wouldn't recommend that to everybody.
Yeah, not everybody can do it, but some of y'all can. But I'm definitely using this as an opportunity to not only network and build the people that are like, I can like lean on support and everything like that, but I'm also using it to gain insight. As I've said, I want to work with athletes. I want to push athletes to do what they want to do in their own way, however they see fit. And to do that, in my head, I need insight from an athletic department. Best way to do that is get connections in an athletic department. So what's next is I'll, do my internship wherever that may lead me. I'll graduate next May. with a master's. I will put myself forth in the more sport industry, the more traditional kind of view of the athletic department, but I'm doing that for a short period of time. And I tell people that, and they're like, well, what if you end up loving it? It's still not my end goal. Um, I have an end goal of freedom, of doing whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want. And it'll be done in a way that I feel best takes my skills and puts them to good use. So I'll be in the athletic department for a little bit, kind of learning the ins and outs, trying to figure out what student athletes are actually needing rather than what they're given. Like if I have a student athlete that is complaining about not having enough like mental health resources, or maybe he needs more academic help, we're pushing the industry to cater to them rather than using these athletes, draining everything from these athletes. I can't tell you guys how many athletes I know that are like, I'm so glad I'm done, because their coaches have drained them, the system has trained them. We're failing these kids. Like, I say that as if I'm like real grown, but I'm not. I'm the same age. The same age as them. But we're getting drained for everything we've got because we're willing to give it. Why? Because it's something we love. So now that I'm in a space where not only I can continue to do things that I love and work in a space that I love, I have the opportunity to like pull like kids out of that rut that they're in, that they're sitting there, they're like, man, I can't wait to get this degree so I can get out of here and maybe things will change. It's always a maybe things will change because they don't know how to do it, because why? They weren't taught how. They were taught to go to practice, go to class, and stay out of trouble, which stay out of trouble. That one's important.
Yes, indeed.
Right. But it's definitely a moment to like gain insight, do all these things in athletic department, then break off. I'll always keep up with this podcast. I'm working on some other projects.
Right, top secret for now. But you know what
Top
we'll do is
secret for now.
we'll have you back on, even if it's like a couple years from now. I don't think it'll be that long because I know you already got the pieces in place, position to launch that. But we'll have you back on once that officially drops. But it's hush hush for now.
It's
But
hush
go
hush
ahead.
for now, but great things are coming. Basically, I'm Taj's little mini him, because I want to go out here. I'm going to be doing so many different projects, whether I finally get in the space of basically taking this podcast on the road. And what I mean by that is like conferences and workshops on how to customize your life, how to build and live the life you want rather than just what's handed to you. Because if something's handed to you, yeah, you could take it and be like, thanks. But you can also take whatever was given to you and put it to good use. You can give it to somebody else. That way you can continue doing what you want. You don't have to, if somebody hands you a job and you're like, I don't really like it, by all means, pause, wait, by all means, take care of yourself, whatever you need to like keep food on the table, a roof over your head, by all means do it. But don't forget that dream that you have. Don't let it just like sit in the corner somewhere collecting dust because you're in this job that you don't really like. So get your money, do what you got to do to stay good, but also be working towards that other thing, because once you're in a good spot and you're full time on your dream, you can do whatever. It doesn't even matter. The world could just everything could rain every day and you're still living your life because you're like, look, I'm doing what I love. It doesn't, everything else kind of like goes quiet in this. Everything you love is like vibrant, it's loud, and you're like, yes. So keep grinding towards what Taj and I have decided to call freedom, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Imagine waking up and you just get to do the stuff that you want. Like you don't have any other like unnecessary obligation. You just get to do the stuff you love. It's the life to live.
Wow. See, look at you, Jhalisa. You ready right now to host a conference. You ready to host a panel right now. I'm sitting here getting inspired. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was like, put me in a conference. Let me go on a panel. Give me a
By the
topic.
way,
I got
are you
it.
going to be in Atlanta? Did I talk to you about this? The Athletes Unite conference? Did we talk about this?
We did talk about it. I don't know if I'm gonna be in person for it.
Oh, because that's right, the virtual one. We'll talk about this afterwards. But
Yeah, we'll deal with that later.
right. But okay, so I want to make sure. Okay, we got a little bit of time left. Um, let me give you your acknowledgments first, and then I'll hit you with like the final question, and then you could tell everybody again where to hear the podcast and all that type of stuff. So, acknowledgments. I want to acknowledge you for not just what you're doing. That's important, right? Because this is where same thing with athletic identity, not for just what you're doing and what you're building, but for who you are and who you're becoming. Because you, like I said, you have put in the work. It takes a level of wanting more for yourself. I think a lot of people want more for yourself, but it takes something special to actually act on it and move forward with the things that you want and really fight for the things that you want. Because it is a fight. It's an internal fight, like you said. And it's a battle that we fight every single day. Not that your whole life has to be a battle. It's filled with a lot of good moments as well. But what I'm saying is, I just want to acknowledge you and tell you that I'm inspired by where you're going and how you've been able to overcome the things within yourself, because you know you want more and you know it. You have to become a certain person in order to have an impact. So you're driven not just by wanting to improve, but you're driven by the fact that, okay, I know I have to overcome XYZ on a daily basis. It's not just a one and done. I have to overcome these things in order to really serve at the capacity that I see myself serving. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your courage as well. I want to acknowledge your courage, because not everybody is willing to put themselves out there and start a podcast. And I'm inspired by how inspiring you are. I mean, damn, you were inspiring when we first met, but now you're just like, hello world, I'm here. Like, it's your girl, Jhalisa. I'm here to inspire.
We love it.
Yes, indeed. So I just wanted to give you your flowers for that. And yeah, and I want to thank you for spending some time today, because I know people like think about the younger version of yourself. Like, that's who's tuning into this podcast. And so by hearing your story, there's going to be a lot of people who are moved by this or inspired by this, to get out of their own way, to get to where they want to be in life. So, and it's been an honor working with you. Like I said, we did the 8 weeks, but hey, we're going to be talking, like, you know where to find me. This is a lifetime thing right here. We're going to be running together for life.
Absolutely.
And once again, one more time, I know we talked about it earlier and it will be in the show notes, but please tell people where to follow you, how to tap in with the podcast, and then anything else you want to share before we close out.
Absolutely. So again, Chime In with Jhalisa. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Anchor. It's going to be great. We're starting small, but hey, we're going to just grow exponentially. Instagram, JHALISAAABELL. Stay tuned for all the great things that are coming, including the Hush Hush project.
That's right. All right, awesome. Hey, everybody tap in with the show notes. Make sure you follow Jhalisa. And yeah, this has been another great episode of the Thrive After Sports podcast. Jhalisa, you are a prime example of what it looks like to thrive after sports. So thank you for spending some time today. And everybody, will see you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.